Là, on arrive au lac d'Imilchil. Et ce lac d'Imilchil, il y a une légende extraordinaire. La légende des fiancés d'Imilchil.
Ah oui?
Alors Tislit, c'est la fiancée, Isli, le fiancé. Et cette légende, elle vient d'une histoire. Il y avait un garçon des Aït, Brahim, et une fille des Aït, Yaza, qui font partie d'une fraction des Aït Hadidou, qui malheureusement ne s'entendaient pas, ces deux fractions. Ils voulaient se marier, s'aimaient beaucoup, ils ne pouvaient pas se marier parce qu'il y avait un problème entre les fractions. Ils mourèrent de chagrin dans leurs larmes, noyés chacun dans leur lac. Et on a ici le lac de Tislit, de la fiancée. Et suite à cette période-là, il y a eu tellement de chagrin dans les familles qu'à partir de ce moment-là, toutes les tribus des Aït Hadidou, les jeunes ont pu se marier quand ils voulaient, sans autorisation des parents, de personnes. Et de là est venu le Moussem des fiancés, qui se passe chaque année en souvenir de cette belle histoire.
We're at Lake Tislit, the lake of the bride, and the story goes that she cried so many tears when she was parted from her lover by their cruel families that a lake formed behind me, which I swam in earlier, and those tears are very cold, I can assure you. The journey's changed so much in the last 4 weeks really. We've been through so many different environments and we've met so many different kinds of people. This has been a very rich stage of my exploration of Morocco. We started in Nador, it was boiling hot. I was so hot, I thought my liver was gonna cook inside my body. And now, as you can probably see, it's really cold and we're waiting for the snow to come. We started in these hills with conifers and fir trees, then we went through the desert plateau of the Rekkam, absolutely flat like a Riki, kind of a scene I'd got used to in the Sahara, and we revisited it. And there we met with the people there were Arabs, and they are proud Arabs. They're descended from the Beni Hilal tribe who came over from the Arabian Peninsula many millennia ago, and they treated us to such incredible hospitality. I know how hospitable Moroccans are. I've always been amazed by it, but this took it to a whole new level. We couldn't move, if you like, for people trying to give us food and water and milk and meat and invite us to their houses and give us hospitality and find out about us. Not for anything in return, they just want to show hospitality. They're so happy to see visitors. It was absolutely wonderful. I've really never experienced anything like it. One family slaughtered a sheep and invited us for dinner, and we had this whole sheep which had been roasted on a spit. And it was such a beautiful evening, and that evening Brahim finished it off with a prayer. And all the young boys came running. When they heard Brahim's voice, they actually came running into the salon, and everyone sat down, and there was about 20 people all praying, which was very beautiful experience for me. And I asked Brahim about it afterwards, and he said, you know, a feast is a feast and hospitality is wonderful, but if you finish it with the prayer, then it has a meaning. There's a seal to the evening.
إنهم هم السفهاء ولكن لا يعلمون وإذا لقوا الذين آمنوا قالوا آمنا وإذا خلوا إلى شياطينهم قالوا إنا معكم إنما نحن مستهزئون الله يستهزئ بهم ويمدهم في طغيانهم يعمهون.
After the Rekkam Plateau, we entered into an area that I liked very much. It for me, spiritually, we're walking along vast, wide open spaces, golden in colour, with vegetation and with some water, so we're not struggling all the time for water. But on either side we have hills, a bit like the Bani Hills in the Dra, and you feel like a pilgrim. You feel like a pilgrim because you're walking always towards these far distant mountains. Your eyes are always drawn towards them, but you're in a long, wide open space. So that part of the journey for me was very much about just enjoying being outside, walking on the earth. And that was quite empty of people, actually. But there was wildlife. And then we changed everything completely and we entered into the foothills and then the mountains, the high Atlas Mountains. And of course, I live in the Atlas Mountains. I live in Imilchil, but it's very different. And I thought, honestly, I know what it'll be like. It'll be like where I live. It's completely different. What's been brought home to me on this trip is how many different kinds of landscape Morocco has. It really is incredibly rich in that. And this part of the High Atlas, we've been walking up mountains with the camels, which is extremely difficult. The men have had to work very hard. But then we've been walking down into the river valleys where there's lots of water and the agriculture is abundant. Ali says to me it's the heart of Morocco, and I know what he means because things are still being produced very much in the old-fashioned way. People are tilling the ground with their donkeys or their mules. The women are harvesting, they're putting the maize and the corn into sheaves. So we feel like we're going back in time. But as Brahim says to me, he says, Zahra, you may feel like you're going back in time seeing people use agriculture in this way. But when they look at us, they feel like they're going even further back to the time of their great-great-great-great-grandfathers when they were the caravan trade. And it's true, we almost cause a riot if we go through a place where there's lots of children. One of the interesting things we did was we stopped off at a zawiya. Zawiya Sidi Hamza, and that was reminiscent of the Zawiya that I in Tamagrut, and also for me very reminiscent of the libraries in Timbuktu. It's always a thrill to pick up an 800-year-old book. But actually what I really liked in this Zawiya is they'd kept a collection of the founder's shoes, which sounds really weird, but they have all these different shoes, and the two that really struck me were, one was a kind of pair of soft leather socks, effectively, that you wore on a journey and you wore shoes over them, and they still had them, and the other one was shoes for the outdoors, and they had little the shoe that you put on a donkey was underneath the bottom so that you could walk in them outside. So the Zawiya was very interesting. It's being renovated, but just to be able to walk through all the different streets and to see what was happening there was very exciting. It felt very much like an exploration. So we're over halfway now in the trek, and it's gone so quickly, and I just don't want it to end at the moment, although I'm very cold. So maybe I will soon, but I don't want it to end. It's been such a joy. It's so exciting and so rich, and every day is so full and it's so free. And I'm just experiencing a really intense connection with the environment, with the team, with the camels. So I really don't want it to end. I don't want to think about the end at all. I'm trying to erase that from my mind, but it will come. And this will remain, I hope, a perfect jewel in my memory.